Hello, I'm Leslie Dinauer, the chair of the Doctor of Business Administration program. Today, I'd like to share with you a few insights and strategies to help you develop your methodological knowledge base. In the DBA program, we focus on the research synthesis that is foundational to evidence-based management. Thus, we don't emphasize so-called number crunching. Instead, the methodological skill that scholar practitioners need to develop most is the ability to critically read and evaluate published research. So that's our overall goal here. But that goal still requires grappling with a good number of quantitative concepts, as I'm sure you're discovering in the classroom. So in this course, I think it's important first to have the right orientation with which to approach the material. You see, to some degree, learning about research methods is very different than learning about, say, leadership or theory. For example, when you engaged with the learning topics in DBA 800, you probably didn't encounter too many sentences in which the words themselves were unfamiliar to you. Whenever you read, language was not a barrier. But for many doctoral students, learning research methods is much like learning a foreign language. For example, right up front, in Project 1, Step 2, many of the words and phrases in the learning topics and learning resources can look almost like gibberish if you've not encountered them before. Creating factorial research designs? What is that? Many students become quite anxious when they see phrases like this, and they think something like, I have no idea what that means. How am I supposed to know what that means? This feeling is very common. So if this describes you, please know that you are not alone. The key here is to not allow that anxiety to hijack your learning. Acknowledge it. Take a breath. And make a conscious choice to tackle the content. Tell yourself, of course I don't understand this because I haven't studied it and learned it yet. And move forward with reading the content carefully. Note that this may be an instance where you want to read more slowly and deliberately than, say, skimming a journal article for results. And if you would like clarification on any point, you must ask questions of your instructor, either in the classroom or via email. You can even request a one-on-one phone call or video chat. Asking questions is not a sign of ignorance. Quite the contrary, it's a sign of intelligence. It demonstrates that you are actively engaging with the material. Question and answer dialogue with your instructor and your colleagues is an extremely important part of the learning process of this material. A good way to create a structure for making sense of all these new words and concepts is to create a methods journal. You can do this in a dedicated notebook or in an electronic file system. You can incorporate your very important checklist of do's and don'ts of quality research, as described in Project 3, Step 3, either as a part of this journal or as a separate entity. The goal of both is the same: to put together a curated personal resource that allows you to distill all of your learning about methods into an actionable self-guidance resource. This is consistent with your development to become an independent, evidence-based scholar practitioner. For example, Project 1, Step 2 includes a learning topic about internal validity, with the primary learning resource titled Social Science Research, Experimental Research. The learning resource briefly explains 6 threats to internal validity, like history threat and maturation threat. But perhaps you want to know more about the threats to validity and better understand how to identify them. You can start a section in your methods journal titled Internal Validity and spend some time studying that concept in any number of ways, including searching the internet, watching YouTube videos, diving into the UMUC library, or referring to research methods books you may already own. Along the way, you should take notes in the methods journal, not only of straight facts, but also, and more importantly, of the insights that arise as you engage with the various ideas you encounter. And as you think about why the outcomes of any particular study you read may not actually be the result of the author's research at all. Additionally, if you come across new internal validity-related knowledge later, you will always have a place to which you can deliberately return to help you process and save it. You should use your methods journal not only to organize your learning in DBA 810, but also to provide you with a framework for learning about new methods that you encounter as you evaluate research in the systematic reviews that you conduct. It would be impossible for us to cover everything you might see as a synthesizer of research. But as a doctoral scholar, you should be able to investigate unfamiliar methods. Let's say, for example, you encounter something like Bayesian hierarchical modeling in an article you need to evaluate for a systematic review. You can search for information about when and generally how this method is used, not for the purpose of being able to execute the method, but to determine if it seems to be used appropriately. When you use a methods journal to record this information, not only does the act of writing it down or typing it in help you strengthen your cognitive grasp, it also contributes to the building of your own personal knowledge repository. I hope you found these few strategies for developing your methodological knowledge base helpful. If you have additional tips or strategy that work for you, please share them with your cohort in the classroom.